Okay, so the second part of Acts 5, um, the apostles are healing many people and they are just crushing it and becoming very popular, which makes the Jewish leaders very jealous, and also the ones that are really tied in close with the Romans. And they just decided, we're going to jail these guys, like Peter and John, and we got to put a stop to this. We got to figure out what's going on. We told them not to be doing this. So they jail them, and then that night, an angel busts them out, and the angel tells them, go right back to the temple courts and start preaching. And the next day, they're going to meet the whole Sanhedrin. They say, hey, call the boys out of the jail, and they say, oh, they're not even there. And then someone says, you wouldn't believe where they're at. They're at the temple courts. Man, if they got busted out of jail, you'd think they'd run for the hills, but they were just speaking more boldly than ever. So they call them back in, and they call them in kind of fearfully because they're becoming so popular that, you can't beat these guys in front of everybody else because, what are the people going to say? And they say, hey, didn't we give you strict orders to stop doing this? And Pete repeats something here. He said, hey, you guys can choose for yourself. I'm going to choose to follow God over man. And then a really wise guy, Gamaliel, or however you want to pronounce it, says, hey, let's have a timeout. And they kick the boys out. And he says, Sanhedrin, let's talk about this a minute. And he's really wise about this. He says, let's just leave these guys alone, because we've had a couple guys in the past who have claimed to be the Messiah, the Savior, and all these guys. And those guys have always fizzled out. And they fizzled out because their cause was not from God. But if these guys here, if their cause is from God, we won't be able to fight it. And if it's not from God, it'll fizzle out on its own. So don't worry about it. And they were convinced. So they call them back in, they beat them. And then Peter and John are so jacked that they got beaten because they feel so worthy that they got to suffer for the Lord for the first time. And where do they go after that? They go back out to the courtyard and all around and just speak more boldly and more boldly than ever before.